was especially chamber music. And I think chamber music has been such a big part of my upbringing, you know, playing with my brother or like playing at different chamber music festivals while growing up. And like even to this day, like some of like the most enriching musical experiences would always be playing with other people and playing, you know, and having insights from professors or colleagues, or, you know, it's really, for me, that's, so that was always been my reason to do music. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting me.
Miclen, it's so nice to meet you here on Zoom. Yes, and it's, well, I'm so happy that I saw you on Instagram. Now tell me, where are you based at the moment?
So I'm based currently between Vienna and Paris. I have a piano trio that I work with in Paris. And then I come back to Vienna now and again because of, you know, concerts and work that I have to do sometimes. And because Paris was a very recent development as of 3 months ago or so, 2 months ago. So it was, so that was a very sudden move, but for a good reason.
Well, I saw you actually with performing with Scott Flavin.
Well, that was a very coincidental event. I mean, we didn't play together. It was just so I went to school in Miami where he teaches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I did my artist diploma in Miami.
Okay.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
No, but I met him when I was back. I met him when I was back in when I was in Miami, and then I saw on his Instagram that he was going to be in Paris, and then I just wrote him a message. I was like, "Oh, like we should meet up for like coffee or you know to meet." And then he was like, "Oh, I'm actually giving a performance that this one evening," so I just went and I saw him. Yeah, that was that was a very stressful.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh no, I thought maybe you performed. You know, you did a performance together.
No, we did perform actually in my final artist diploma recital in Miami. We did do like a few duos and stuff, but it was that was a long time ago. That was a good 5 years ago.
Okay, but tell me now, Paris. Can you tell me the story about Paris? How did you end up there?
So it started, well, actually, okay, I don't know where to start now. It's a piano trio that they've been together for about 10 years now, and they're really established, and they're very really great people. And I became really good friends with them when we did a festival in Los Angeles together back in 2019. And I became good friends with the three of them, and the violinist just moved away to China to pursue his future endeavors, and so he so they were looking for a violinist. And they asked me in April if I would be willing to come and try. The previous violinist injured his arm about 2.5-3 years ago. And so when that happened, I came and I filled in for him for a couple concerts. And with that, they already knew how we worked together. And then in April, the pianist called me and asked if I would like to come and do a little trial session with them and see how it is working with them. Yeah. And then in the summer, in June, we all decided that it was the right, decision to make. And then they invited me to be a part of the trio. And then now, we have about, 60 concerts a year, 50 to 60 concerts a year. Really, they're really active, and it's really nice. And it's something that I feel very lucky and blessed to have, especially if it's like a steady chamber group, because, usually as musicians, as classical musicians, we're looking for like a teaching position, or an orchestra job, to have stability. But I feel extremely lucky to have like a chamber group that gives me this, stability, but at the same time I get to be creative and I get to play with people that I enjoy playing with. have just a good, it's a good energy, and something I'm very lucky to have.
And now because now that you say you have the opportunity to be creative, so in a chamber group, it's a smaller group, so you can still have your own style, sort of, or do your own thing.
Well, it's mainly like the working aspect of it, and like the forming the group for what you envision, like the group. I mean, the goals of the group. I think that's mainly it's. I mean, obviously, when we're playing our individual voices and our individual techniques, we we keep our identity as individuals, but at the same time, we're working together to create this one uniform sound, one uniform, your phrasing and your beings need to kind of conform into one, it's really nice for me to, be in a place where I can, if there's something wrong, or if there is something that I would like or something they would like, we just talk about it, and then we figure out. It's kind of like marriage, I guess. And you're figuring out new ideas and new things together. And like if I really want something, I know that I can just talk about it, and that they'll listen with open ears, and we'll figure out how to do it as a group. So that kind of creativity, as in like if you're a concertmaster or in the tutti section of an orchestra, you don't really have that much flexibility.
But I would say if you compare it with a marriage, you just have to be careful not to start throwing the instruments at each other.
That's true. I don't think our insurance will cover that, So.
But I speak to so many musicians, and I cannot think of one that I've spoken to who has not said that playing together, ensembles or chamber music or orchestras, everybody says this thing that it's so wonderful to play with other musicians. Yes. And now you say the same thing, this feeling of being in this group and having the same vision, having the same, working together, not just on the music, but on what are we going to do, or what are we trying to say with this chamber group.
Right. Mm. No, definitely.
Mm. But now tell me, what age did you start playing the violin?
I started playing the violin when I was 3. So it was I was very young. The reason I actually started was because my brother is a professional violinist.
Oh, okay.
He's 20 years older than me. So, when I was born, he was already in college and already so I just wanted to become a violinist. Okay. That's how it started.
And did you grow up in Miami?
No. So I grew up in Los Angeles, right outside of Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I went to school. I did a school in Los Angeles, and then I moved to New York, and then down to Miami, and then Germany, Austria, and now Paris, France.
Wow! But so from a young age,
a lot of movement.
Yeah. So from a young age, you knew this was what you want to do.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. From a young age, so my mom's a piano teacher. And my dad, luckily, is not a musician, because I think that would have been too much music in the household. But my mom's a piano teacher, and my siblings all played. Yeah, my brother and my 2 sisters all played music, although my brother was the only one that went to pursue it professionally. But I wanted to become, from a young age. I mean, in the beginning, I was doing it because of purely out of the inspiration of my brother. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to, to just be the best I could be. And then, obviously we all have this teenage rut of, 13, 14, and I didn't want to practice. So then that's when my parents came in. They were like, basically we spent so much money on you, so we got to continue.
We shouldn't do that, but we do that. We give that speech. We shouldn't, but we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's, I mean, and I'm super thankful, and I'm really grateful for my parents for doing that, because then after that, then I was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So it comes in waves, especially at that time, at that age. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, for the rest of my life, because I really enjoyed doing it. And it wasn't something for me ever to make money from, or to, um, I don't know, for fame. And I mean, I guess we shouldn't be musicians if we're looking for money and fame.
Yeah.
But it was something that I did because I really enjoyed doing, and I really felt um, drawn to just, playing music. So that was especially chamber music. And I think chamber music has been such a big part of my upbringing, playing with my brother, or like playing
Oh,
at
yeah.
different chamber music festivals while growing up. And like, even to this day, like some of like the most enriching musical experiences would always be playing with other people, and playing, and having insights from professors or colleagues, or, it's really, for me,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. So that was always been my reason to do music.
Mm. But you could see also by your brother's experience, so you knew what it took to get there. So you knew almost the path that you had to go to get there.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, I think my parents, I mean, the beginning, I don't think my parents wanted me to learn music because of all the work that it took to get my brother to
Oh,
get
yeah.
to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, well, it's actually kind of a different generation for my brother and I, because my brother is, I mean, so now I'm 28, he's 48.
Mm.
So it's a different generation of schooling, and a
Oh,
different
yeah.
generation of career marketing
Mm.
kind of thing. So I think they had an idea of how to do it. It just changed, at least that's what they said. It was very different how
Yeah.
they brought me up, in comparison to how my brother was brought up.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Yeah,
also I've spoken to a tenor the other day, and we spoke about the same thing where, they didn't have social media, they didn't have all these platforms where they could promote themselves, and it was all a totally different
yeah,
time for them. But
yeah,
also now, I mean, we are now more aware of how many musicians, how many singers, how many artists there are because of social media. And does that also bring some sort of a bit more pressure on you, you think? That because you are so aware of everybody that and what everybody is doing, as a young musician, does that bring its pressure?
I mean, in it sometimes, I think it's always on how one uses social media. I think
Yeah.
also,
Mm.
if you're going through your day scrolling, and seeing someone play, and you feel like, oh, I wish, like, I wish I played like this, or like you're just unconsciously comparing yourself to everyone out there. I think that's very unhealthy to do as a musician, because of how many, as you said, how many musicians are on social media and active, especially this generation, or even our upcoming generation.
Yeah.
But I always try to come at it with a very healthy mindset of, I follow only certain people that I want to see,
Mm.
like, want to follow, like, their lives, or friends. I really, I mean, going through all these festivals, or schools, or competitions, I meet friends that I just want to stay in touch. And
Yeah.
so usually the way that I go through social media is I see it, and I always try to be like, if it's a video, it's like a really great video, and like they're playing really well. I try to consciously not compare myself, but always have this mindset of, oh wow, I can be so much better. Like, I can, like, do
Mm.
this. I can take this as like a learning experience, and
Yeah.
always just like, wow, they're doing this really great. Like, I can, let me go practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than like being self-detrimental with my um my train of thought when looking at it, and just like going down the rabbit hole of just self-deprecating thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's usually my I think it's also thanks to my upbringing, because my parents were also very positive people. So I've always tried to be as positive as I can with my intake of social media. So for me personally, I am very picky with who I follow on social media, and also because I think it can be a very toxic environment, with the self-proving, or like the the over self-marketing, this kind of thing that I'm not really a big fan of. So I try to take social. I think it's unfortunate that it's very unfortunate that social media is such a big a, what is such an essential tool for our generation of musicians. I think it's something that everyone needs to do, unfortunately, in order to be heard, in order to share their talents with audience members, so that, like agencies, I know that they will look at your social media presence and see, oh, wow, they have over 10,000 followers. They only have over 20,000 followers. That means people want to go and listen to them and watch them. So we're going to assign them, or a label that social media presence. And then they're always like, how many CDs have they sold? How many streams have they had on Spotify and Apple Music? And unfortunate that it's come to this, but it's something that I think is out of our control. Because then you're changing an entire generation of, like, a mindset, a generational mindset. So I think using it as healthy as possible, and as I think that should be the main goal of every musician, is just sharing their voice and finding their own niche, and their own finding their own just finding a healthy way to put out their personality and their character and their voice. I think that should be the main use for social media.
I go with the approach that I'm not for everyone, and whoever wants to see what I do, you're more than welcome. And there's I always think it should be like that, because otherwise it's a chasing of numbers, and it misses the point. And for me, I love social media because I discover so many wonderful things. I meet people like you, for example, and all the people that I've done interviews with, this almost 700, I've just found on social media. And if I see, for example, you were with Scott, and because I know Scott, I immediately thought, okay, hey, this Scott, this is a lovely connection with Scott. And so I think this, there's a great positivity, but like you say, exactly, it should be used for the purpose that it's beneficial to the artists. I think definitely,
Yes.
But it's also, I spoke to a painter the other day, and he said that actually, if you watch somebody else do something and you feel a bit intimidated, rather than feeling intimidated, rather thinking, okay, what can I learn from this person? And like you say, how can I better myself? So you absolutely, said what he also felt. So that's great. But now tell me,
I've also had phases where I've also had phases where, I do get into this rut of just scrolling and seeing things and being a bit like questioning myself. And once that happens, then I try to find the strength to just turn it off and just put social media aside, maybe for like a day or 2 or 3 or 4. And I just like put it to the side, and I try to refresh, and then just like, there's always a reason for what I'm doing, and my happiness, is myself, mental health is much more important than comparing myself.
So are you in this sense, are you a good businessman? Can you can you really go for it? Because I always think musicians, you study your whole life to play the instrument, but then it's that time where you get out there in the real world and you have to sort of establish your place. So, and you need a sort of a business sense for that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, when I went to school, we never had these like entrepreneurial workshops or like the how to, or music business classes, there were, but I think they were really outdated,
Yeah.
And so like a lot of the things, I like to think of myself as like a bit of like a musical entrepreneur in a way that I try to balance. Okay, how do I put this nicely? I think of myself as a good businessman. Like I'm able to like talk to organizers and get to know people. I started my first music festival when I was 15 in the Philippines.
Oh, fantastic!
And then it was for 4 years, and it was for it was based in a school in the southern Philippines, and it was for underprivileged children and communities that wouldn't be able to have high quality like classical music exposure, if that makes sense. And so I brought in friends from school, from I was 15, 16, and I brought in friends and like, we went and we taught, we had a great time, ate great food. And that lasted for about 4 or 5 years. And then I ran another music festival. And then now I run a chamber music festival in Bavaria with another good friend of mine. And so that's been going on for 4 years. So I like to think that, I really do believe that being business oriented with music is something that is lacking in the classical music world. And because, as you said, we all learn how to play the right notes, the right technique, the right bowing, everything is so technical and so fundamental musically, and it's not about like how to market yourself, or how to be your own agent, because I think at this time that is the most important thing to do, especially with social media. I think one should be able to put out something that people are like, oh, we really want to hire this person. We really want to, we really like their sound or their voice or their energy, and we really want them to come. And so I've gotten a lot of concerts based on just that alone, from social media or marketing or emails that I sent to people, to organizers, to agents, to managers. It's something that I think should be taught. And I think it is being taught now. I see a lot more workshops being held at big name schools or even smaller name schools that are geared toward like self-marketing, like being your own entrepreneur, being your own businessman. And I think that's really healthy. Obviously, it could be, as I said before, it could be also very toxic. Yeah. But I think if done in a as long as you don't compromise your integrity and your morals, I think, and putting out like who you are really as a musician, rather than just putting in all the, all the good parts about it. I think that is where music business is going towards, or where artists should be heading towards.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's that, for a long time, people just thought, but you love playing the instrument, so why do you want money for playing? So it's that sense of also educating the public to say, okay, so yes, but you have to show appreciation by paying. So that's in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, we still have to pay our bills. We still have to pay rent.
Exactly.
Exactly. These are all things that it's also. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I moved to Europe, is because in the U.S. if you play music, it's more of like a hobby. It's more of something that people don't really take as like a real profession. And here in Europe, I mean, that's why I moved to Germany in the first place, and Austria, and now France. They take musicians as like, it's a real profession. You do get your benefits, you get your health insurance benefits, you get your, everything is, you're treated with the same amount of respect as, someone else in a different standard profession, which is why I love Europe and why I want to stay in Europe.
Yeah. And I've heard also in America that there are many orchestras who are actually where the musicians are not paid, because it's sort of a side thing that they do. They have different careers, but they are just on the side. They're in an orchestra, but they don't get paid for it.
Right. I mean, without naming orchestra names or fund or whatever, like everything in the US is private funded, when it comes to music. It's all by donors. And obviously, our parents or grandparents did really well in getting that community going. And so now, a lot of those donors are, dying off. They're, and so and then the concert halls are not as full. And so obviously, because it's not as government funded as, say, Germany or Austria, you don't have that, especially during COVID. That was a mess. So you didn't have that job security as you do here. So that's very unfortunate, because it's, you have such a rich musical legacy from from places in New York to San Francisco to Boston, and you have so many great artists coming out of there, and it's such a pain to see them gigging so much. I think this whole gigging environment comes from the US, like you doing weddings, doing sure, nothing wrong with doing these things, but it's just the mindset that is like, you're working, you're working 24 hours a day for, to pay your cost of living, or, you don't really have your social security or your, in France, they have this intermittence that, you get paid based on how many concerts, you have per year, you get this fixed little rate per day to live by. And it's something that, it shows that a government really cares about your life and that what you're giving back to the, community and the country.
Yeah. I know in South Africa it's also the same as in America, and there are also so many talented musicians and artists in South Africa that also have to do it that way, to just fund it for themselves. So that's that's a great privilege here in Europe. That it's possible to do it as a profession. But now, tell me, Miclen, what is your wish for the future? What would you like to do still?
Well, I mean, it's wow. Oh, what do I want to do still? I don't know. My life. I mean, at least the last year, it's taken so many changes, that so many different turns, that I'm, until last year, until the beginning of this year, I wanted to be a concertmaster. Like, I realized that was my main goal. And so I was very lucky and privileged to do a lot of Aushilfe, a lot of guest concertmaster work, with orchestras around the world. So a lot like in Spain or Austria and Germany and stuff like this. And I was able to do a lot of this, and that was my goal. And then I got this chamber music job with this trio, and I've seen how fun it is and how rewarding it is. And I mean, not to mention that it's financially stable. I guess my future is keeping the mindset of I need to be happy. Like, I just want to be happy doing what I love doing, rather than taking off like a big name concert hall that I'm playing at, or an orchestra that I play. but it's more like my main goal in life, and I like to pride myself about this, is just I just want to be content and happy with what I'm doing and be able to live a comfortable life doing so. That's very emotional, and that's very,
No, but what a beautiful wish. No,
that's very,
yeah,
but,
yeah. But
but
that,
honestly, like, what brings me happiness right now, like I like to think about like what brings me happiness in the near future, rather than, because what the last couple years or last year has taught me was that you can't really predict the future. You can't really, think life changes. Obviously, you can have wishes and goals, and you can try manifesting a career, but things come and a storm comes and it just changes everything. So my goal for like this next year and everything is just having a great time playing chamber music, traveling the world, and if things happen like being concertmaster for an orchestra or playing a solo career or something, that's going to happen. I just need to. My goal in life is just to play the best that I can be. I can be the best musician that I can be, and that I can always put out, the best quality music, and then do do whatever comes from that. And that's my main goal.
But that's beautiful, and it's like somebody said to me the other day, as also a singer, said, if it's a small concert, you just make it big, and if it's not exactly what you want at that moment, you just make it what you want, so
yes. Yeah. It's my dad always told me that at the end, at every concert should be treated like your last concert. You should always be playing for each individual audience member. It's not like, you're playing for riches and glory, but it's try to have an experience on stage that, you think will be your last. And I think that's something that's very important for musicians or any artist in general. Everything, painting or book or note that you put out should have the same have this quality that should be that would be if it's your last note that you put out. And I think that's I think that's really special.
That's great. That's great advice. But what would your advice now be for, say, a 16-year-old you?
A 16-year-old me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think, wow. I think younger musicians in general are kind of blinded by names, blinded by a bit of like prestige. To give advice to me or anyone at that age that's applying for college, or someone that is wanting to pursue a professional classical music career, it's to make sure that you're playing music for the right reason, and that you shouldn't be picking music in order to be rich or famous, but you should be picking music in order to you should be using this universal language. I think that's such a cliche term, but this universal language that was given to you, this gift to spread love and peace and joy to everyone around you, because it's a language that you can show so many emotions. Like you can show anger, you can show love, you can show joy and happiness, and at the same time sadness. And it's something that if that is why you want to do music, I think that should be everyone's goal. Playing music and should making a difference in the world, rather than doing I think that's one of the
wonderful advice, because I think we are so celebrity focused, that's a name
Yes.
focused, and it loses the impact of what it's all about.
Right. Right. And I've seen so many young musicians make a mistake by choosing the biggest name school or the biggest city to live in, when they don't even know what teacher that they want, the right mentor. I think that's like, if I were to give two pieces of advice, that would be the second one, is like, you need to make sure you have the right person to guide you through your life. Because wrong technique can physically hurt you and psychologically hurt you as well. So having a teacher that can teach you properly is extremely important, and someone that's invested in your musical development, someone that won't over compliment and also not over criticize, and I don't know, I think whatever type of musician you are, to have that correct person behind you, pushing you. I think it's just, no matter what type of artist or a creative artist you are, I think one needs to have the correct mentorship and the correct basis in terms of, technique, sound, and musical knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's not usually the teacher with the biggest name students that are able to do that. Sometimes it's maybe a not too well-known teacher that's able to, to bring that out of you. I think that's very important, for a student to know. That's my two pieces of advice.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
No, but that's great.
It's something that I tell my friends whenever they ask me for advice, because I have a lot of friends that come to me to just play for me, or to just be like, Miclen, what do you think of this? Because I've going to school in 4 different countries, and meeting a bunch of people, and doing a lot of different musically worldly things. It's something that I always try to input. You need to make sure that it's like what I said before with success should be based on of one's personal fulfillment rather than comparison.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
I gave you a really long answer for.
No, but that's great. But that's a beautiful answer. And I think it's also, sometimes people would say to me, it's my first teacher that I've ever had who instilled this love for the violin for me, or the love for the piano. And you think, yes, it's not always on that level. And, when you're doing your master's degree, it's sometimes this first teacher who taught you at home, and, who's there. That's also that important part, because that teacher might have instilled the love, or just helped you to love what you're doing, and that took you on your path further. So that's also, I think, it's for me so special, then how teachers make an impact on artists.
Yes, I agree.
But Miclen, it was so great to talk to you.
It was really wonderful talking to you too.
And thank you so much for your time. But I hope to meet you in person when you come to Vienna again.
Yes, I have if you're available, just December 12th and 13th, I'm playing the Barber Concerto with the TU Orchestra here in Vienna. Yeah, so if you're available, the 12th and 13th.
Yeah. Is it in Vienna?
Yeah. It's in Vienna. It's in this Kuppelsaal, I think. Something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be great. Oh, I would love to come. But have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for making the time to talk to me.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. Okay, Miclen. Bye.